sure that every another, oh, there's another person, just let them in. That's probably going to keep happening. So yes, welcome. This is another Form the Future Opportunities webinar in collaboration with CPCA Careers Hub. Really pleased to be able to do these in collaboration because we know that we're both speaking to the careers leaders and the senior staff at secondary schools across the region, and your time is precious, and it makes a lot of sense for us to be working together and sharing this time to help you. So my name's Kath Austin. I'm the Chief Programme Officer at Form the Future. I'm joined today by my colleagues from the Careers Hub and from Form the Future. You can see their names on the screen. And the format of today's meeting, I'm going to be handing over to Lisa and Helen, Enterprise Coordinators from the Careers Hub, who also work with Form Future, to take us through a presentation on experiences of work. And then they're going to be passing that back over to me, and we'll start talking about some of the biggest opportunities that we've got live for you at the moment. So I think that's everything from me. I'm going to hand over to Lisa and Helen, and I'll come back in a bit.
Sorry, I was struggling to take myself off mute, and then I realised I could do it. I was waiting to be taken off. But hi everyone. Just to confuse you, Kath and I had the same memo today, so we dressed identically. So yeah, we're just gonna kind of twin throughout this. As Kath said, Helen and I are going to kind of take you through a whistle-stop tour of experiences of the workplace, what it is, why it's important, and how it can actually happen. And we know most schools will have launched their work experience programs this year for their year 10 and 11 students. And this is obviously it's the first time that potentially some of these students will have had contact with the world of work. So if you just pop onto the next slide, Catherine, that will just give us a little agenda of what we're going to cover. So what are experiences of the workplace, why they're important, the changes that will be coming, how you can maybe rethink your approach to experiences of the workplace and that traditional kind of week of work experience, and then some examples of good practice and plenty of time for questions at the end. So if we go to next slide, and Helen's going to take over to explain the next bits.
Yep. So what you'll see on your screen now is the front page of a guide to best practice of experiences of the workplace. And Form the Future, again, partnering with the CPCA, have created that guide to support you guys in learning about experiences of the workplace and helping your students to make the best of those experiences. It's been put together by careers development professionals and the product development manager who work for Form the Future. We work closely with businesses, school staff and young people, as I'm sure you're aware. So we're uniquely placed to bring in the perspective of each of those audiences. So hopefully this guide is going to be really, really useful to you. It's going to cover all the essential information required to create and maintain good work experiences programs, which I'm sure that you already have, in your schools, but, this is just to help you develop it further and to inform your own practice. But also, with staff changes in schools and things like that, to give you further information, and also the changes in the landscape of work experience as well. So you will notice we're trying not to say work experience, we're trying to say experience of work deliberately, because it's an inclusive umbrella term and it covers different ways, the variety of ways that young people can gain experiences of work. Because traditionally people tend to think about work experience as a placement, because that's how work experience has been delivered for many, many years. But, we're trying to be a bit more progressive. And this has been driven by government, of course, as well. So we'll take you a little bit further. So this guide is going to be available to you. You're all going to get access to this guide. And we just want to show you some highlights of it, really. So if we can go to the to the next slide, that would be really helpful. So what is work experience? I'm sure that you've all got in your heads your own ideas of what that might be, but you may not have thought of some of the other ways that it, it can be delivered. So, the definition of work experience is forms of employment or activities that provide practical experience in a particular job or industry. Please note, sorry, somebody's talking there, sorry. So you can see on the screen a variety of different ways that students can experience a workplace, not just that placement that we talked about before. There's lots of different ways, and some of you may already be using some of these ways, but if you haven't already, then it could be really inspiring for you to see and have a think about other ways. Okay, if we can have the next slide, please. So I'm sure you all aware of the reasons why work experience is important. There's multiple reasons, of course. There's Ofsted. Of course, everybody knows about what that is. And work experience is included in the inspection of schools' careers programs. The Gatsby benchmarks, which I'm sure you're familiar with, specifically 5 and 6, but 6 is, the experience of workplaces. We're going to come to another slide about that. Gatsby, obviously the backbone of careers education and further contributes to Ofsted. And the benchmarks help direct a school in enabling the best outcomes for their students when it comes to careers. Okay, so we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, a little bit more about Gatsby benchmarks. I'm sure that you all are aware that the guidelines have been updated recently, and some of the language around the description of those benchmarks has been really simplified. And the reason why that is, and in particular benchmark 6, is to encourage flexibility about how schools manage and deliver experiences of the workplace. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. Again, this screen has got, sort of just some screenshots of what's going to be inside this experience of the workplace guide. And these 3 we put together because all 3 of them reflect the importance and the benefits of experiences of the workplace. How does it help students? And there's some statistics in here as well, which I think are really, they really sort of back up the evidence of how work experience helps students. So I think, this could be of, this great benefit to you when you're sort of trying to develop your programs, especially if you're being asked questions by parents, students, or even SLT as to what the benefits of work experiences are. Also to explain how employers benefit from engaging with students and shaping the future talent there. Okay, we can go to the next slide, please. I'm going to hand over to Lisa actually to talk a little bit more about reimagining the work experience or experiences of the workplace.
Yeah, so I think this is taking us to kind of like those next steps and kind of thinking outside of the box of that traditional kind of like work placement. I'm just going to read a quote from the head of policy at Speakers from Schools, who said a decade ago, work experience for school-age students was deemed redundant. But we live in a different world now, transformed by digitisation, automation and political change. Our future prosperity depends on every young person having access to high quality opportunities to discover a changed workplace. And the evidence shows what powerful and life-changing impact such opportunities can have on them. And we want that for all of our students. We want them to have that access to those opportunities so they can see what is out there. And I think by widening that concept to experiences of the workplace, a school can grow and modernise their careers education programme. And the aim of that, using that term is, as I said earlier, is just to make it a wider focus than that traditional single week of work experience that we put in year 10. But this doesn't mean that it has to be a whole scale sort of, you know, rescaling, changing, restructuring of the work experience. And there's a simple way of how we can look at that and how we can grow. So if we go to the next slide, you may have heard the term Equilex. So this is the approach that's being developed by the CEC and sits alongside that other proven activity designed to support 2 weeks worth of high quality work experience for every young person. It won't happen overnight, and you won't suddenly be asked to change to adopt this model, but you will start to see kind of a change in language, a change in kind of like, you know, different information coming out over the next coming months and years. It's being piloted currently in Greater Manchester and forms part of the Labour government's plans for updating careers education. Results aren't expected to be seen until 2027. But obviously that information will be kind of shared, you know, as it's progressing. We won't be waiting that long. Catherine, I'm not sure if the link will work directly from here. I've put it in the blue panel at the side. But you'll all get the slides. So there's kind of links within this slide deck to take you to the CEC website that will talk more about Equilex and more about how they're envisaging it's going to be rolled out and kind of adopted by schools. So if we can go to the next slide, this is what the CEC, their vision of how the Equilex model can look. You may have seen it at the CPD session that we did in December. It's also on the CEC website, but it just shows you how that they're thinking it's going to kind of fit between the year 7 to year 11 and post-16 students. The aim is that it's a progress model that will encompass the whole school journey. So everything's not just rammed into year 10. It could be reimagining events and activities that you already do in those year groups, but maybe with a careers element involved. The model begins with simple introduce and inspire kind of activities, sort of ideally aimed at those younger students, and then progresses into investigate and explore and apply and demonstrate. So as students become older and more knowledgeable about their skills and future pathways, you can have more detailed and kind of immersive opportunities. Sorry, I've just got like little reminders come up, so I can't see what I'm doing. So if you go along to the next slide, please, Catherine. And I think, Helen, I'm going to hand over to you.
Yeah, that's fine. So we just thought we'd put together sort of like some suggestions. So we've put ideas and inspiration, because you might be thinking, you know, from the information you've received so far, how on earth is this going to work for us? You know, it's difficult enough to sort out the placements in year 10. And just to recap, really, when the CEC are not saying that the traditional work placements are not of value, they are really, really of value. But it is saying that they shouldn't be just the only way that students experience a workplace during their time at school. So I think that this slide demonstrates a way in which younger students building up to that placement in year 10 can experience the world of work. So as you can see in year 7, one idea is to use the school environment as a workplace, because, you know, there's a lot of people that work in schools. You guys all work in schools. So most schools at the beginning of when year 7s first start, they usually have a sort of a transition day. I'm not saying all schools do, but many do. And if that is something that happens in your school, that could be used as an opportunity to think about who works in the school. And this is not just teachers, it could be librarians, it could be art technicians, DT technicians, cleaners, hospitality, you know, the canteen staff, and I'm sure there's others that I can't think of straight off the top of my head. This could be incorporated. I know the school that I used to work at, students were given a kind of a booklet something that they can sort of start to orientate themselves when they first start at big school. And working as a careers leader, you could work with those transition staff to maybe incorporate something as sort of a careers element into those transition days. So something like that could, really, give the opportunity for year sevens to start thinking about workplaces, because it might be that they've never thought of school as a workplace before. So moving on to year 8, so there are schools in our region that actually do carry out careers safari. Now, if you've never heard that term before, basically what it means is groups of students can visit a local business park or even a local high street. So actually going outside of the school on a kind of a visit, exploring what is available in their locality. So that is just one idea for sort of a year 8. It doesn't have to be year 8. This is just something that we put together as a, as a possibility. Could be year 9. Equally work shadowing, because we do have schools again in our area that have work shadowing for year 8 students. They have 1 or 2 days, literally just shadowing a parent or a close relative at their workplace. And that could include working from home. So I mean, I work from home. If I had children of that age, potentially they could sit with me and have a look at what I do and just get a feel for what working at home actually feels like. We've got a slide in a minute. Our next slide is we're going to give you a bit of a case study of what year 9 students could potentially do. And of course, as I said at the beginning, we don't want to forget that those work experience placements, where students find a placement and go out and maybe do a whole week with an employer, equally valuable. And that whole kind of model would incorporate hopefully the 50 hours that the government are sort of aiming for every student, those 2 weeks. Okay, should we move to the next slide? I think that's given a bit of an idea. So we're going to have a look at this case study. So Lisa's going to take you through this.
Yeah, so this is a case study. It's one of Debbie's schools, actually. Debbie, I don't think I can unmute you, so you're going to have to put up with me talking over it. But it's just an example of a very large national company who are bringing in their expertise to one of our schools in the region. And something that you could equally do with other organisations. So it's like keeping an eye definitely on our Careers Hub bulletins that come out, and keeping an eye on the Form the Future opportunities, because those activities, will come from there. I can hear a voice in the background. So Skanska and Bedfordshire have piloted this for this year, working with their supply chain partners and Bedford Giving. And they've provided a 6-week programme, both virtual and in school, with 100 year 9 students, which includes such a wide range of opportunities, assemblies, workshops, careers pathways, insight sessions, so much bigger than just one opportunity. But yeah, it could just as equally, it could be a different organisation. It doesn't have to be Skanska. So that's just to give you an idea of the breadth of opportunities that potentially could be out there. Say that isn't just a work placement. I think we're going to the next slide.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just, echoing on from that, as well as using, your contacts, alumni networks, enterprise advisors, parents and guardians are always a really good source of opportunities in the workplace. The vast majority will have jobs and will have connections, so they may be able to help. Local businesses, as I mentioned, the Careers Hub, we put out a weekly newsletter. And wherever we get an opportunity, it goes into that newsletter. So you can take advantage of those. And Form the Future will lead into the opportunities call. But again, that is always there on the Form the Future website on the opportunities page. Kath has just kindly put a link in to the chat, and we'll highlight some of those opportunities a little bit later on. If you go to the next slide, please, Catherine. And that's Helen.
Okay, thank you again. So so this experience of the workplace guide will include lots of practical guidance on how to manage and how to maximize the impact of experiences of the workplace. And this page, I've just like literally done screenshots just to give you an idea of what's inside it, and just to hopefully showcase the value, of getting a copy of that and having a read through of it, because it's got things in there that you may not already be doing, sort of preparation, how you prepare students for a work experience, what day one might look like, reflecting on the experience. Have you thought about virtual experiences? Have you taken part in that? So there's this slide, I should say, was really just to show you a little bit more about what's packed inside that guide. So we can move on from there. I'm just aware of time. We always never have quite enough time. So schools have all been sent a survey by the Careers Hub, asking you to complete that. And thank you to those who have completed the survey. But unfortunately, we've only got 19% of schools out of the ones that have been emailed out from our region. We've got a target of 50. So I'm going to take this opportunity to say, please, if you haven't already done so, please, can you take a bit of time to just complete that survey? It helps the CEC, the National Body for Careers Education, to understand what the current picture is. And it might inform future funding or future investment. So if that is, hopefully that is motivating for you to do it. It's been sent to you by email. You do not need your enterprise coordinator to be present, although I think that there is a part of it that suggests that is the case, but as long as you put the name of your enterprise coordinator, yeah. So I'm just taking this I'm just taking this opportunity to say that, so we can move on from that quite quickly. Thank you. And moving on to questions. Does anyone have any questions? I guess there's a hands up button similar to Teams on Zoom. And if there's a deathly silence, don't worry. If you can't think of anything now, you can always contact us afterwards. Put it in the chat. And we have 5 minutes at the end. In fact, we could move on very quickly because I'm just looking at the time while you're thinking of your questions, if you have any. Just so that you've got an idea of things that are coming up soon. Just let you have a look at that. You can take a screenshot if you want to. Things that are coming up imminently. Hopefully some of you are coming to the Careers Leader meeting in the South on the 20th. We've got a Send Community of Practice on the 19th. And I'll just let you look at that. I won't read out everything that's on there. Did anyone else have any questions at all? No, I don't know. I'm going to go into the chat and have a look.
I don't think there's any questions, but I think if anyone's got any, as Helen said, just shout afterwards. You can always email us. I think we're handing over to Kath now, who's going to do a bit of a opportunities call on opportunities from the Future update.
Yes, that's great. Thanks so much, Helen and Lisa. So just going off from that, I've been scribbling notes because I feel like there's other things to talk about as well. Just to explain about that guide. The guide was created as a collaboration between the CPCA, the Careers Hub, and Form the Future. It's really comprehensive. It's kind of 40 pages long, lots of really interesting, helpful advice in there. It's something we mean to keep up to date as well. So if there's anything in there that you think, actually, this is missing, and we would really like some information on that, then just let us know. Either speak to your enterprise coordinator or to us at Form the Future directly. Form the Future exists to create this network between schools and students and parents, and also industry partners. And we've recently launched a webinar which is directed at businesses to encourage them to open their doors, hence the name. We've created as well a guide for businesses as well. So it mirrors what was been created for the schools. And we hope that will help fill them with confidence that they can open their doors for more opportunities. So I'm just going to take you through what's what we have on offer. We know that your time is precious, and we want to be able to offer opportunities which make it easy for you to enable these experiences of work for your students. So I'm going to share my screen. I did post the link to this in the chat, so you can actually open this yourself if you like. There we go. So can everyone see the Before the Future website? Great stuff. So if you go to the homepage and go to schools, upcoming opportunities is where you'll find this page. And listed here is pretty much every live funded opportunity that we have open to schools. Now, most of them are open to every school. Some of them are open to distinct schools, but it gives you an idea on there of what that who the program's for. The first one I wanted to bring your attention to is the PA Consulting Work Experience Programme. We're actively recruiting year 12 and 13 students onto this programme. And why this is so great is because PA Consulting understand the barriers for students to join a work experience programme. Firstly, it's held in the holidays, so they don't have to interrupt studies. It's also got some financial support, so they get transport, food, clothing covered with that support, and it's really immersive. So it's project based. One of the projects they ran previously was using the nature as an inspiration for ways for solutions in business, and they looked at how termites keep themselves cool in the desert by building these amazing structures, and what we can learn from that and replicate in innovation. So it's really interesting stuff. It takes them through like beginning to end, and they're very involved with that. So this is aimed at disadvantaged students, but I would suggest that pool is pretty big. So anything that they can put in their application about why they face disadvantage, it could be rurality, it could be that they're a free school meals pupil premium student, it could be just simply that they don't know anybody in the sector that they want to go into, and that really does that case is really compelling. So please encourage your students to apply into that. I'm going to whiz through a few of these. Got the ARS program, which I'm sure you all know about, but take a look at that. Just thinking about those experiences of work in the younger age groups, so not typically year 10s, but perhaps a bit younger. We're working with AstraZeneca to populate the STEM Inspiration Lab, which is based at the Cambridge Biomedical Campus. I've been there loads. It's such a brilliant space. They've got this lab where students can actually take part in experiments, and then half the class goes in to do that. The other half goes for a tour around the Discovery Centre, which is pictured here. And they get to see scientists at work and ask questions about what they're doing. And whilst we can't tell them everything, they do get to learn what it means to be a scientist and what that day looks like, and the sorts of research that they're doing. That's an experience of the workplace. As a result of bringing 2 classes onto the biomedical campus every week, and we know transport is a huge issue, they will match fund the transport. They're looking at extending the day, because it's just a morning. There's a pilot at the moment to extend some of those visits to include other partners on the park. So why come and just see one partner when you can see lots of others as well? So just keep an eye on that. That's something that we can bring to you soon. I'm just going to check my list. One of the other programs, which I don't think is listed here, is Cambridge Unlocked. So I pulled off another page. Cambridge Unlocked is an internship program, again, for sixth formers. This is a great picture of Anne and our chair, Prashant Shah, with one of the students from a few years ago. But at the bottom, it does give you the how to sign up for it. So if your students are interested in that, this is it's a financially supported intern program for businesses to go into businesses within the region. At the moment, I think we have 19 businesses signed up, and we don't have as many students. So the opportunity for students is sitting waiting there, and all we need is for you to share that and give them the link so that they can apply into us, and we can give them that opportunity. We're going to be sending that link to the application form with all the information afterwards. And then the final thing I wanted to show you was that whilst we're talking about experiences of the workplace, sometimes you still do, you are still putting on that week's worth of work experience or 2 weeks worth of work experience. And a lot of the admin around that is setting up a health and safety check to make sure they've got their insurance in place, so that the student can go and be safe and you've done all your due diligence. For large year groups, that can be quite burdensome. So that's a service that Form the Future can help you with. There's an early bird offer. So if you do it 4 weeks out of the placement, it's £15 per employer. And if it's within a month of the placement, then it's £20 per employer. So take, for example, primary schools, which sometimes take multiple students, it's just £20 and you can place as many students as the primary school will take. Just going to stop sharing my screen.
Kath, sorry, can I just jump in with a question?
Yes.
Debbie put a question in the chat asking for the matched funding,
Yes.
transport, will it go further afield and outside of Cambridge? So Peterborough, Huntingdon.
Yeah, I'm really pleased to be able to say that the STEM Inspiration Lab has a massive remit. They've extended, we've done so much research into travel times, and we've got a massive database, and we are working our way through the schools to try and find those schools that really have the highest levels of disadvantage. So they've got a split between, they want 60% those schools that have the highest levels of disadvantage, and 40% is a universal offer. So they're trying to be as fair and transparent as possible. They will match the funding. Obviously, you need to be able to get there in time to start the day at 10 o'clock. So if you can arrange to leave the school a little bit earlier, then yes, it's absolutely open to anywhere within that the radius of travel. So please do get in touch with us. It's been hugely popular, as you can imagine. But yeah, that doesn't mean that we can't take your expression of interest and start slotting you into the process. The final thing that two more things. For any of the schools that sit within the Greater Cambridge Partnership area, which is Cambridge City and South Cambs, Form the Future have good news. You know that you probably know that we recently reapplied for funding for our careers program into those schools. And brilliant news, it has been refunded for the next 2 years. So please keep a lookout. Next week, we're going to be holding webinars for those specific schools to talk about what that provision looks like. I can see a few people on the call that's relevant to. And then the final thing is that Form the Future, working with the Careers Hub, really agile. We're working with partners all the time to develop new ways that we can build this network and join students to businesses, along with all the efforts that you are making as well. If there's something that is missing, or if you know that you've got demand in your school, we can take that to partners. So please just speak with your enterprise coordinator, even if that's Alvina or Steve, who aren't on the call right now. And together we may be able to find solutions. It doesn't mean, just because it's not an offer, it doesn't mean that we can't potentially create that solution for you. So I think just telling us what's missing in your schools and the challenges that you face, we may be able to do something about that. So that's it from me. I'm going to open up and see if anybody else has any questions. My favourite part, leaving the awkward silence. I like to see how long I can leave it for. Okay, so what we will do after this call is send out the link to somehow this guide is really big. Somehow we will get this guide to you. So we'll send the link out to that. We'll also send the link again to the opportunities page on the Form the Future website, and all the information on how you can encourage your students to sign up to Cambridge Unlocked as well. So yeah, just keep in contact with us, and we'll try and bring all those opportunities to you as best we can. And thanks so much for joining today.